this is Navya Naveli Nanda, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to a very remarkable guest that I'm going to be talking to today. She's a senior UN diplomat and a great personality, Dr. Natalia Kanem, the Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund and the Under-Secretary General of the UN. So hello, welcome to India. How does it feel to be here?
Well, thanks so much, Navya. I'm delighted to be here. I'm really happy to be back in India.
I'm very, very excited to be talking to you today, and you look beautiful.
Thank you.
How does it feel? I know this is a big year for you at the UNFPA, 50 years, so congratulations firstly.
Well, thank you. You know, we share our congratulations with the government of India and with the people of this beautiful country. In 50 years, we've done quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great to have you be here in person in India and celebrate. What has your experience been like so far in India?
Well, it's fast-paced. I mean, this is India,
Yes.
Lots of innovation. One of the exciting things is that India is such a young country, and for my staff who do a lot of outreach in some of the more hard-to-reach areas of the country, it's been exciting for me to see what's being accomplished. We have women and girls at the center of our work in UNFPA, and we have a lot of allies in the business communities. The ministries kind of set the pace for us. And so it's been an eye-opener just in the 2 days that I've been here so far.
Well, thank you. I think what you do, and especially for women and girls, is really incredible. And I have to admit, I spent the whole of last night kind of stalking you and seeing all the amazing things that you've done, and it kept me up till very late. And you've, had across many different fields. You've been at Harvard, you're a doctor. I've also seen a lot of the work you've done at a grassroots level. So a lot that you've kind of, stood for across these many years. And actually, my question really is, where do you get that purpose from and get yourself out of bed to kind of come out here every day with that beautiful smile and really do what you do?
Well, I have to be honest. The work of the United Nations is a bedrock. And I've admired the United Nations. I worked in philanthropy. I'm a pediatrician, actually, before coming into this field. The motivation that I have is seeing that the world actually can do better, can be better. And even though, of course, each of us only plays a small part, it really does add up. And I've been able to see that during the course of my career. Like Navya here in India, one of the huge achievements, I mean, it's mind-blowing, unbelievable, is that India has started to conquer preventable deaths during pregnancy and childbirth. This motivates me because you don't give up, you keep trying. Yes, in our grandmother's era, everybody had a sister or knew of somebody who perished, but no woman should die while giving life. So I'm very motivated also because I have a beautiful set of colleagues, the staff of UNFPA. We're in over 150 countries.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool to be able to have that sense of purpose, that we're going to do something. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to get into that village. We're going to meet that mom. We're going to meet that girl, that adolescent girl. And so it's, I think, a privilege. It's hard, yeah, but nothing is easy and you got to keep trying.
I'd love to ask you what your experience has been like interacting with, young women and girls in India, and what you think about that.
Well, this is a vibrant society, and I have had a lot of positive examples, yourself included.
Thank you.
10 years ago, it was hard to utter words like menstruation, sanitary hygiene. Young women, and also some of the men of India, because we know that this has to be a battle of everybody joining up together. So the idea that India is leading in production of menstrual hygiene products, that families are finding ways of preparing their daughter so that she knows what's coming. And also that the guys, the young men, are being respectful of that proposition. Your ability to communicate on these issues, I think, is part of that momentum, Navya. I also believe that it's part of human dignity. When UNFPA, for example, after climate crisis disaster, we have a humanitarian arm. They work very hard to help people after the flood, if there's drought, whatever it is. And among the products that we distribute, and we call them dignity kits, are attention to these very personal items, which make a difference. It makes a difference at school if you have a bathroom that the girl can use.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think the momentum is building, the understanding is building. Speaking with government officials yesterday as I went to meet some of colleagues that are working on how is India going to get this to scale, including some of the discussions with the Panchayat, is that how you say it? Yeah.
Panchayat.
The Panchayat, yeah. It was important to see that women's leadership is part of that dynamic. So I have an appreciation for the ambition that India's women and girls portray. And I think it inspires, not just in your country or the region, but all around the world. People are looking to you.
Definitely. I think it's great. I mean, I think the work that the UNFPA has done as well on supporting, awareness and transparency around menstruation. And when you speak about, young women, especially, in India as well, I think it's great to see a lot of women now be a part of India's growth story. I think a lot of young women, especially India, has a very, very young population, one of the largest in the world. So, and I'd love to kind of ask you what, the future looks like, or what would your message be to young people, not just in India, but across the world, when it comes to getting a part of missions like this, what the UNFPA does or the UN, what would you want to say to young people? How can they get involved?
Well, this is a perfect question for someone like me because I share your passion about wanting young people to take their place at the table and to be prepared. Come prepared. Come prepared to participate. Don't come prepared to sit back. Of course, we all have to listen. We all have to learn. But the creativity that young people represent is also part of your generation's understanding that we've got to craft a different way of going about solutions, the solutions orientation. Now, think about it. You have over 250 million young people in this country and well-educated, once well-prepared. And to me, part of that preparedness is knowing your own self. And knowing your physical body is a part of that, but also mentally. There are a lot of pressures on your generation. The fact is, it's a rapidly changing, technologically oriented world. And part of that preparation has to be young people weighing in, keeping the world safe for each other, for women and girls. So I like the fact that, for example, in UNFPA, we have a Youth Advisory Council. These are young people who are doing their research. They're voicing things, which you use the terms about shame and guilt before. We actually would like to transform that attitude where victims of whatever happens to them in their life, rather than holding that trauma and feeling insecure, right? That they have, and menstruation being another perfect example. You have the opportunity to think about it, to say what's happened, and then to say, I'm going to help fashion and make a difference. This is exciting.
No, I think that's great. I think congratulations to you on creating that kind of youth advisory, because I think, increasingly people are recognizing the importance and value of young minds being on the table, like you said, and not just silently, but very actively, kind of voicing their opinions, voicing, the future that they see, the kind of world that they want to create. So I think it's great that you're giving young people an opportunity to do that, at UNFPA. So thank you.
Can I add something, Navya? Because young people are actually demanding their seat at the table. I mean, it's a gift to work across the generations. But I think for older people in my category, that we do have to tune in to what young people are trying to express. And as we talk about the future, the United Nations had the very exciting Summit of the Future, part of the General Assembly. And there, young people fashioned their own agenda. It was called the Action Days. And they came up with issues that they think are going to be important for shaping the future. And of course, we know that climate activism is part of that. We also know that gender relations is part of that. But I think the creativity and using the arts in different ways, and even like I told you, this is my first podcast.
I'm really honored that it was with me. But I completely agree with you. I think this generation, of course, not only wants to be a very active part of building this future that we're trying to create, but I think also using the right platforms to put out the right messaging. And I think the world, like you said, is evolving. We're in a very technologically driven society today. Everyone has a phone, everyone has access to so much information. So I think it's really great to see that being used in a positive manner to kind of spread activism, to spread messages, and to have really important conversation. So thank you for kind of joining the medium and doing a podcast and a podcast, because I really think it's a great way to get people to not only hear your views and opinions, but also, really relate to that through the format of it.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. Thank you.
I'm really honored that this is your first one and I could share it with you. But I love what you said about, the youth summit that you mentioned you had at the UN. And I think, the UN has always been at the forefront of encouraging young voices and young minds, especially around the themes that you spoke about, climate change, gender equality. I think these are all really pressing issues that we're going to have to continue dealing with and working towards. And, I was looking at the logo that you have for the 50 years of UNFPA, and there's so much on there, there's so much that the UNFPA wants to do, and of course India being a very active part of that future. Why does your work in India, especially with the UNFPA, why is it so critical to the growth of the UNFPA's mission in the future?
Well, my team sat around. They are highly educated, and I say educated because they're grounded in what communities are saying they need. And India has a big population, the 1.4 billion possibilities that I always talk about. But the fact is, India is a leader on the world stage. Innovation, you've already alluded to technological innovation. Coming from a health-serving profession, your role during COVID in helping with the vaccine production, etc. And India also has had world leadership, G20 last year, etc., which has spotlighted the potential. And I think things that India will do going forward, in speaking with some of our colleagues in the ministries, but also in the civil society sector, I see a determination to examine how the huge positive culture, tradition, the long prospect of this biggest democracy, how are we going to intertwine that looking to the future, especially in terms of the nucleus of the family, that precious adolescent girl. So as India looks to tackling adolescent health issues, pregnancy, too early pregnancy is one of them. UNFPA cooperated, for example, to have good information, use all that power of the web and technology to put trustworthy, vetted information in front of young people who are looking for answers. So Just Ask, that platform that we developed with government, has been really important, and I think some of the things that you're doing, so that if you want accurate information in a way that you can relate to, these are going to be very promising parts of changing a world culture. Bollywood, of course, here you are in the seat of the filmmaking industry. The imagery, the ability of women to be portrayed as strong individuals who are contributing to society, all of this has an important influence. The other thing that we really look to India for is this example of using dialogue as a way of coming to solutions. And this is a really important platform. We've got to be able to talk about issues and make sure that voices are heard, rather than resorting to, the deterioration of human relations. There's a lot of heft in how your society approaches these issues.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that you mentioned accurate information, because I think that's becoming increasingly more and more valuable in today's world. I think fact-checking, having information, having data that is genuine and that is accurate is very important for us, especially when it comes to talking about the kind of conversations that we're having. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that you're working towards creating a bank of information that is accurate and fact-checked. I think that's really essential. But what I'd love to ask you is, Of course, we talked about kind of, how India has played a role in supporting a lot of the goals that the UNFPA and the UN has. And, we've discussed how, young people can be a part of it. But what would you say are maybe some of the most critical concerns that the UNFPA still wants to address or talk about, and how, whether it's us as young people, but just us as members of society can really be a part in supporting that? So maybe like one or two really critical concerns that you have that you would want us to really come together and work on.
Well, that's a great question. And I have to say that when I imagine a girl in India, but really anywhere, she's in her village, she's in her city, she's trying to make a life, she's, on the cusp of adolescence. So we have to ask, what's going to help her to succeed? What's going to help her to have confidence? What's going to get her to be like Navya, where she's going to be able to project, this is what I would like to do to serve humanity. This is what I would like to do for myself, but also for my community. So to me, I imagine this girl going to school. Everybody supports her. She doesn't have to be shy if she wants to do some non-traditional, like STEM, math, science, etc. But above and beyond that, maybe she wants to be a police officer. Maybe she wants to do, a farmer, whatever. We should support her to fulfill her dreams. And for UNFPA, the proposition that this girl has a right, she has a choice in terms of when will I marry, if I wish to get pregnant, how many children, etc. These are decisions that she should be supported in, and not too early. We really want her to get through her secondary education and more if she wishes, knowing that she's secure. The other thing that I have to say is we're in a dimension now where we're realizing that the world really was not designed with women in mind.
Yes.
Surprise!
Yes.
Can that change? You bet it can.
Of course.
And so a lot of my team is busy looking at innovation as part of the solutions to making things more comfortable for women on the job, for example. It turns out it makes it more comfortable for everybody.
Everyone, yes. Yeah. I think I completely agree with that. I think people are increasingly keeping women in mind now when we look at solutions, when we look at policy, even when we look at the way we collect data. But I really liked what you said about, this vision that you have for young women and young girls for the future. And I think that, of course, with the support of not just India and young people, I think we all really want to work towards making that a reality for women across the world. But when we talk about women empowerment, and especially when we have conversations around gender equality, it's always comes back to what are women doing and how can women be a part of the mission. But I really believe that it's equally important, if not more important, for men to also be a part of that mission, because men play very, very important roles in women's lives, and I think their support and their encouragement is equally important to kind of take that forward. So I'd love to know your views on that, and how you think young men and young boys could be a part of that growth for women and girls.
Well, thank you for saying what you're saying, because gender equality is not women, it's really everyone.
Yes.
And our teams are hard at work in promoting positive masculinity. The idea of what is a strong man, who is a caring man.
Yes.
How can we incorporate these visions of equality that make life better for the family? The example of the Prime Minister asking for women to equip themselves to lead is very, very important, because people look up to leadership, and we understand that the ability of men to also express their own vulnerability, to ask questions, to be respected when they take their paternity leave, for goodness sake. The family needs the dad to step up as well. I think this is a transformation, and your generation is leading that. And my expectation, especially when it comes to gender-based violence, the shame is not for the victim, and the responsibility is not for the victim. This is not a women's issue. This is a societal issue.
Definitely.
And it's been great to see men stepping up and voicing, especially in sports and online, their support for safety for women and girls, and dignity, respect. All of this is a quality of life issue for everyone.
Definitely. I think building safer ecosystems, building a safer society, safer workplaces, even a safer home is definitely something that men would have to lead, especially when it comes to gender-based violence. I think that's really important, and I'm glad that you kind of put that message out there. But I'd also love to ask you, I mean, we spoke about technology and how we're living in an increasingly more tech-driven world. How, in your opinion, do you think we can use and leverage the benefits of technology to kind of put out, talk more about the SDGs or talk more about the kind of work the UNFPA is doing, and how do you think we can really use that? And do you think that it'll help in kind of spreading these messages across the world?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm going to ask you the same question in a minute. But I do see technology as a huge source of accelerating the type of development that we're talking about. Huge potential for the good. And just here in India, for example, because we're the population fund, we work on census, we work on data, we're really busy trying to assist government in areas where they would like us to focus on data utilization. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have data, as you well know, Navya, if it's not disaggregated. Yep. We need to know, where is this person? Are they being left behind? Which community do they have a disability that we have to accommodate? Mm-hmm. So these types of data are really important, but now the types of platforms that we're using, digital cards to be able to track the immunization of the yes. mom and the baby. Yes. This is going to make life a lot easier, where the woman doesn't have to walk for 2 hours and get Absolutely. To the clinic, and she can just do things remotely. That's a time saver. It's also a lifesaver. Mm-hmm. It's a lifesaver for the family. But I think it's also the power of imagination. Mm-hmm. This is kind of your milieu. So what do you think is going to make a difference?
I mean, I think everything that you mentioned, and to add to that, I think, to give you examples, I think India is also really kind of focusing towards how can we leverage and utilize technology to aid a lot of these concerns that we have today. How can we alleviate a lot of problems that we face today with, the intersection of technology and impact? And I think that it's so far had a very positive, kind of impact on society. And I think it will make life easier. It will bridge gaps. It will bridge borders, which is exactly what we need in today's world and in today's context. So I think we have covered a lot. I didn't realize that we went, time went by really quickly, and I'm really glad to have had this opportunity to speak to you about some of these very important things. So thank you again for being patient with all my questions. But before I let you go, I really want to ask you maybe some more fun questions and see what you have. So we can do a quick rapid fire. I'm going to give you some words, and I'd love for you to tell me maybe one word or a couple of words on what that means to you.
Okay, I think I can do that.
Start with patriarchy.
Smash it.
Yes, I think that's a good one. Women empowerment.
Women leading.
50 years of the UNFPA.
Success in partnership.
India.
Ancient, modern, open, inviting.
Wow, that was a really great one. I think I might use that next time. Okay, another fun question would be, what is maybe one, actually this is something I'm curious about as well, what is one song or what is some of the music that you listen to that really kind of gets you excited and energized for your day?
Oh my gosh, well I am a diehard music lover.
Are you?
And yeah, across genres.
You're in the right country for it.
It's so true, we have such great examples of sitar, which is meditative, and I really, really love. Coming from Latin America, of course, I'm a salsa girl, so
wow, okay.
And dance music also gets me energized. But there's a part of me also that appreciates jazz, and I listen to Coltrane just on the ride up here coming in from New York.
That's amazing, and hopefully before you leave, we can make you hear some Indian music. And
beautiful.
We have music from around the country, around the regions that are great. So maybe I'll have you do that before you leave.
I'd love that.
But thank you so much for being here, and thank you for letting me talk to you and have this conversation with you. It was really special.
Navya, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's such an important thing that you are actually creating change and lighting that spark where you are.
Thank you, and congratulations again on 50 years of the
Thank
UNFPA.
you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.